Hello and good morning, my friends. Welcome back to another day in Empires and Puzzles. And this time around, we do have a brand new portal again. It is going to be the Super Elemental portal, which has returned for another round of Holy editions. And in this particular case, we did go back to a Super Elemental costume featuring Zandria. Okay, so Zandria was a pretty forgotten hero that existed in the Super Elemental portal, although it's a little bit of a unique hero. I remember this from back in the day, so let's talk about him. What's he going to do? Will this costume make him relevant in today's meta? Let's get into it all now. So first things first, his new setup is going to be fighter class. I do think that's kind of nice. The Resurrect is always useful to have, so I think you'll understand a little bit better as we get into this guy why this might be useful. All right, so a reminder of what we have from the Super Elemental family. It says one or more shields are enhanced each turn. So basically, this is going to take one Holy Shield on the field each turn and turn it into an enhanced Holy Shield. This power gem is going to be able to zap enemy targets at the end of each turn, and it is going to zap them for 20 damage. And then if you match these tiles, it's going to do 10 damage to all enemies. This is, look, I like these zappy tiles. They're super fun for certain things. Mostly, they are a great hedge against like fighter resurrectors, etc. It just zaps them down after they pop back up to ensure you get those kill targets. It's also helpful to do the last little bit of damage to someone who you thought you were going to kill with a special, but instead stayed alive with 53 HP or whatever the case may be. These zappy tiles can help you finish off those opponents. But I will say this, when we're talking about the world that we live in today, as opposed to when these first came out, the HP totals of all of our heroes have gone up drastically, right? So these zappy tiles have significantly less impact than when they were originally designed. And I think if they were going to feature the Super Elemental family and try to make them more relevant, this really needed to be addressed, but it wasn't. So like, we're just going to go with it. It's fun to take out like fighters that or get those finishing hits in, but like, it's really not super impactful, and it does mess up things like sleep effects as well. So again, a bit of a mixed bag there. All right, so also then down here into the passives department, we have the Troop Mastery. This is kind of nice. It has different effects for offense and defense. When he's an attacking character, the damage from troops deal extra elemental damage plus 150%. So you're getting stronger troop hits. And then down here on defense, it's going to reduce the damage received from opposing troop hits. So like this guy would be dark troops, they'll do less damage to him by 25%. Again, interesting, but not necessarily like game changing. All right, here we go. In the Aether department, we do have Bulwark, which is basically just armor up for the first 6 turns. It will be helpful for him because he needs the extra survivability. Down here into the specials, we'll get to Cosmic Devotion. Okay, so this will be operating at very slow. So that's important to point out. Very slow. It just takes an incredibly long time to get a very slow attack off. Then it says down here it's going to deal 250% damage to all enemies. It's going to deal an additional 25% damage per each Holy Shield on the board, up to 550% damage, it says. All right. Then each defeated ally has a 20% chance to be revived with 45% HP. Each Holy Shield on the board increases the chance to be revived by 5%, up to 80% chance total. Deals extra damage against Dark. Okay, so let's get into it. What's this guy do? Is he going to be good for us? Is he going to help us, etc., etc.? Oh, gosh, there's so much to say about this, right? First of all, 250% damage to all enemies at very slow is not anything exciting. You also have to look at his attack stat. And remember that at 1752, this is this guy going on the attack path. So that's about as high as his attack's ever going to go. With that attack stat and today's defense ratings, I don't think that 250% damage to all is really going to be very impactful. So I don't think that that is what you're going to want to count on for where this guy does his impact. So if we're not looking at damage for what he contributes, let's look what else he does. All right. He can deal an additional 25% damage for each Holy Shield on the board, up to a maximum of 550% damage. Okay, I hear you. You're probably excited and saying, hey, 550% damage would be a huge hit, right? That would make him impactful. Okay, you're right. But let's talk about how you get there, right? So on offense, in order to get this guy's special off at very slow, you've likely matched almost all of the yellow tiles on the board, right? Like you've been working at it and getting there, and in reality, there probably is very few, if any, yellow tiles remaining to work with to boost this guy's damage. And that's the problem, right? Having to match all those tiles removes his ability to stack tiles in his favor. And I think that's really where this guy is going to fall flat. And the same thing will occur for the next part of his special. Each ally has a 20% chance to be revived with 45% HP. First of all, 45% HP is fine. but 20% chance to revive is pretty dang low at very slow. Now, it does increase 5% for each yellow tile on the board, but again, it'll suffer from the same diminishing returns that the damage buff will suffer from. So in other words, if there are no tiles on the board to increase his damage, there's not really a lot of tiles on the board to increase his res percent chance. It's problematic if you see where that works. So like, I just don't think that this guy has viability as an attacker. Now, we can flip this a little bit and look at him as a defender. I would say he functions a little bit better because you don't have to match all the tiles to get there. Now, he will be very slow still, so they have plenty of time to kill this guy if they're worried about him, or use up yellow tiles on the board, etc., etc. But he will be more impactful defensively than he will offensively. I think that's a pretty safe bet to say. And the one area of the game in which this guy may become impactful is as a rush-specific character. And the reason I say that is because, of course, you're changing his very slow skill into a fast one, which means you can match less tiles to get him off. And as you match less tiles, there will likely be more tiles on the board to buff his effect. So I would say that, honestly, if I pulled this guy and chose to level him, I would most likely use him in rush formats specifically. And that's it. He'd just be one of those characters that you have tucked away for your rush situations, and then he'll be more impactful, almost to the point where he could be quite irritating. But even then, I mean, I don't know if it's worth it for that one particular format. When you look at the heroes that are coming out nowadays, I think you're just getting more out of them than this costume rework has allowed. So I hope that makes sense. If we're going to rate this guy, I'm going to give him a flat 7. And the reason is I'd say he's way lower. I'd say he's like a 6. But because of his effectiveness in a rush format, I'm going to give him the 7. And I mean, if you pull him, you can still level him. I mean, it's not the end of the world to level a character that isn't like cream of the crop. And sometimes you can really throw people off by using characters that aren't part of the meta because they don't know how to approach them correctly. And you can catch them off guard and kind of sneak in a win here or there. But 7 out of 10 for this guy. And he's probably not the most exciting 7 out there, but he's got some interesting stuff going on. So there we have it, folks. I do appreciate you joining me for these reviews. And of course, if you like what I do, at the bottom right, there's a little button there you can click to subscribe so you can find me easier in the future. And we'll see you next time.